So I said there was going to be 3 videos, but I think it's going to end up being at least 4 just because there's so much that I need to explain here. So the next piece is the little bit more complicated piece and doesn't necessarily have to do with the design in itself, but it has to do with the functionality. And that's to check for the email to make sure that the email is a valid email. So what we need to do just to first start this is create a new variable that's going to be the true false variable that toggles things. So I'm going to come to my variable panel here, and I'm going to create a new variable, a true false variable that is going to be defaulted to false, and it's going to be, I think, is valid. So it's initially false. So I'm going to kind of be toggling between this project and then this other project that I had used before. And actually, I'd probably name it is validate. And what I need to do is when the person clicks on our submit button, what needs to happen is it needs to run some JavaScript and then do some things based on what the JavaScript says. So let's go back here and just change this really quick to is validate. I feel like it should be is valid, but because the scripts already say that, we'll just use this. So is validate. And then what I want to do on my first one here is something else I forgot. I think I'm going to say, did I say, I said enter for one of these. So I think the first one's going to be enter and then it's submit because you're entering something and then you're finally submitting it. Do enter. Let's make sure all those states are how we want them. Yep. Okay. So now what we need to do with this is we just need to have this all work. So instead of this happening when the username is equal to blank, what we want to have is this change to normal when is validate is equal to false. So we also need to enter in some JavaScript. So not only do we need the JavaScript to capture the email address, but we need the JavaScript to capture the username as well. So I have the JavaScript over here, or at least I did. Gonna have to reopen it here. So let's go to open, and I use Sublime Text. It's a free text editor. I just love it. It's simple and has a lot of plugins and different things you could use to make it a little bit cooler to work with. So here's the JavaScript that we're going to put in when the person clicks on the button. So what it's doing is looking for basically a valid email address. And so what this is doing right here is our email is going to be the email that gets filled in our XAPI script. And we're not going to go over all that in these videos, but that's something for another time. And we're not looking for text entry because if you can remember, we changed it to be called user email. And then another thing that we don't have on here is the username. So we'll also add that in there. So we'll call this, okay. We will call this user name, and then depends on what, I can't remember what I typically use in my XAPI scripts, but we'll just call this username for now too. Maybe we'll do camel case. Siri, camel case. Username. I don't know that I want to call it the same thing though. Username and username. That's a little confusing. I'll just say user. User, and I'm going to save this. So what's happening is if the variable is validate within storyline is equal to false, it's going to run this that says it's then going to run if the email is equal to true. Oh, goodness. Sorry. Player set variable is validate. Let's see. So the player, we're going to get the player. We're going to get these to pass into our script that is going to go to the learning record store. And then we're setting this variable to false. If this email is correct, if it matches this code that we have up here, then the isValidate will be true, else it's going to be false. So what we're going to do is copy this, and we're going to add this to the submit button. So let's go ahead and say execute JavaScript. We'll paste this in here. And then we'll say when user clicks, submit button. We want this to come first. So that's going to execute. If it's false, then it's going to show please enter a valid email. We'll probably change some of this just to be more accurate. So instead of username, should be email. Then if it is true, what we want is for all the animations and everything to occur and for it to go to somewhere else. So let's look at this in like this example and see what we've got so far. So I executed the JavaScript here. We have changed that text field to show up if isValidate is equal to false. We then execute some more JavaScript when it's equal to true. So this is some of the JavaScript for the XAPI to send a statement in, but we do not need this because we are not going to be doing that part for now. So we can just ignore that. And then change the state of the submit button to normal when the user clicks if isValidate is equal to true. So I think, let's see what we have this state. State is normally normal, so I'm not quite sure why that's in there. And then hide this layer if it is equal to true. So what we want to do now is just do this piece on is equal to true. So this is our last and final piece that we have to do. Go ahead and save really quick. So let's do this. What we need to do is create a new slide. And this would be, we're going to do basic and just do blank. We'll just say you made it. So this would be your actual content that you're going to go to. We'll just put you made it. Maybe we'll make that bigger. Circular. We'll just put this middle of the screen. We'll change it to like a blue. So what we could do with this is we can have everything pause the timeline and then have everything kind of go to an end when this stuff happens. So let's do something really quick. Maybe pause time. Let's create a cue point. Playhead, of course. That's all the way over here. So let's do it a little after 1 second. So we will do this. We'll say pause timeline when the slide when it reaches And we'll do the cue point because the cue point lets you can move it around, so you don't have to change the time if you don't want to have it at this point. So, okay, so now we're pausing it. Now we got to move everything in because we want to then start the timeline again when we do everything. So we've got to move it all in, move it all in. That is not everything. It gets a little tedious after a while here. Oh man, okay. Gotta close it. Close it. Move this in. So we want to have everything fly out at once when we have the email. And ideally, we would have that little animation go again with this dot beforehand. But maybe I'll come back and do that. I feel like it's not really as important. Before we move forward, though, let's just check the tab order really quick. Let's make sure everything's in here. Create a username. Create an email. We change this. Change that to email. Submit. Please enter a valid email. Let's go back in here and make sure. Email. I think we changed this already. Yeah. Go back to tab order. Okay. So let us have this all animate out. So we want to have everything. Let's just do animation. Oh, we can't do animations on everything here. Okay. So let's say fly out. We want it to go to bottom. It's going to go back there. And you can see I can't do it to the scrolling panel, so I have to come in to all of this and say fly out. And then I've got to do the same thing with this scrolling panel. Grab everything, fly out, and hope that this works. So now, let's go ahead and change some of this up. All right, so we've got it paused, and we want to say adjust variable, or we want to say jump to slide. You made it when timeline ends. And then also we want to make sure the condition is validate is equal to true. So we need to start the timeline though. So then we want to say pause, resume timeline, this slide, when variable changes is validate, if is validate is equal to true. We could also say when the person clicks on the button. So maybe we'll change it to that because that might actually be better. So resume timeline when user clicks. Submit that button. Also if is validate is equal to true. Okay, so we obviously cannot play this because JavaScript doesn't play well in storyline and preview, but we can always publish this, and it's not a big deal if it doesn't work. Honestly, this video was really just to go over going from design to development in from XD into Storyline. So let's go ahead and play it. I have like just a gut feeling that it's not going to work because like nothing this it's a little more complicated of a little more advanced of a storyline project, so it really may not work the first time, and that's typically what happens. But you know, it's just playing around with things, so it'll take a second to go ahead and do this. Let's go to publish. Thank you. And then I'm going to go to Documents, Articulate, the Moment of Truth. Oh, see, it paused it and these didn't finish, so that's something that we got to adjust. So I'll just put in my email. Everyone knows my email. Yay! Okay, it worked. Woo! That's a first. Okay. That's super exciting for me though. Obviously this is pretty ugly, but we can change that. So okay, we only have a few things to change. This is so exciting. This never happens, I feel. Everyone knows how I'm feeling right now who works in the storyline. All right, so let's go ahead and format the background. Just have this be transparent. And then we're gonna pause the timeline at like a little bit of a different place. So let's move that over here a little bit more. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this. Of course, if I was working with some JavaScript and XAPI, I probably wouldn't, probably not have as great a look. Okay. And it bumped down a little bit too. I'm not sure what that's about. You can see there's just some things you might want to tweak, but go in. Yay! Okay. That's exciting. Okay, this is pretty good. I think this is a good place to stop. All right, so that's my video series. I know that's been a long journey here, but hopefully you guys have picked up a few things and been able to to bear along with me and my struggles along the way. But I'm glad to be able to work out loud and share all this stuff, and yeah, hopefully it was helpful. So I'll go ahead and share some of these files, and everyone can take a peek at them and just let me know if you have any questions. All right, thanks.